if you're doing that all the time, then actually your life becomes about just validation by strangers, which is very toxic, and that's not healthy.
They will do it, you know, whether you post on Instagram or not, they will eventually find you.
So these big numbers don't mean anything. You know, don't think about that. Ones and twos count, because ones and twos can become ones and twos customers, and that's really good. That it takes hard work, it takes determination, it takes longevity, and it takes strategy.
Welcome to the Handmade Bosses show. I'm Steph, and my mission is to help you start, run, and scale an online handmade business and build a creative life you love. I went from being in a 9-to-5 that I absolutely hated to running my 6-figure handmade business in less than a year. So bosses, let's help you get your amazing products out there and get the sales you deserve.
Hi, and welcome back to the Handmade Bosses show. I am here with Libby Langley. I also love your name, by the way. It's so like off the tongue, Libby Langley. Libby is a social media expert. So she's been teaching social media marketing since 2009. I don't even remember being on social media in 2009. So, and she also runs a small business. So she understands how challenging juggling all of the things and, you know, wearing all the hats, and probably what a lot of you watching are experiencing right now, where you're like, well, I'm good at these things, but I'm not necessarily good at these other things, right? So tell us more about you. So rather than me harping on about everything, you tell it from your own words.
Okay, well, yeah, I started dabbling in social media in 2009. I was a commercial development manager for a local FE college. So I worked in education and marketing and was responsible for selling, I suppose, the commercial programs. And social media, I mean, I was on Facebook and on Twitter, but kind of didn't really know what they were doing, what they were for. So I thought, right, let me research this a bit more. And I wrote and delivered some courses to local small businesses, paid for courses. And they were really successful. And the difference that it made to them, and also to me in my role at the college of marketing the courses, rather than spending $3,000 on a radio ad campaign, we could do some stuff on Facebook and Twitter and get people in for nothing, which was brilliant. And then in 2011, I had become, disenfranchised about working in the public sector. And so I left and thought, right, how can I use the skills that I've got and everything that I've learned and the things that I enjoy doing and make a living? And here I am 10 years later. I'd also got qualified as a tutor while I was at the college, and I was just finishing my master's degree, my MBA, and my dissertation was in social media marketing strategy and corporate communication. So I kind of had a bit of practical experience, but I also had this kind of weightier qualification stuff behind me, which I think gave me the confidence to go out there and start training the masses.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So what made you fall in love with social media, Twitter, Facebook, all the good stuff? Because obviously in 2009, like the landscape of social media was very different than it is now. We don't have like TikTok back then. We didn't have, I mean, what
Instagram.
else was there?
Didn't have Instagram. No.
Didn't have Instagram. That was it 2013? Have I got that right?
2012, I think.
2012, damn it.
Yeah.
So what made you fall in love with it back then?
I think just because it was new, it was different, it was a way to be able to talk to anybody anywhere in the world about anything. And this connection of community fascinated me, and also the tech behind it. I've always kind of been interested in technology, and I liked the way these platforms worked. It just really was something new and exciting for me. It's not that I personally am a particularly sociable person. I mean, I'm one of the most antisocial people you will ever meet, and I'm much happier just being on my own reading a book or something like that. But the fact that the world is open to us all just from a smartphone is absolutely kind of beyond my comprehension, really. And I think that was the thing that always, or to start with, certainly just fascinated me. And over the years, over the last 12 years or so, the fact that it changes all the time really piques my interest, because I love learning. I love, getting the hang of new things and then being able to teach people them. So I think it's kept me interested, because it's not stayed the same. I mean, the fundamentals stay the same, strategy, the core thing of what I teach, social media strategy, stays the same, but the platforms themselves are different. So the nuances are different. So yeah, you kind of can't really get bored with it. You can get frustrated as hell with it, but you cannot really get bored with it.
And I have to ask, when you started in 2009, did you get pushback from people who are still in the realms of radio ads, magazines, newspapers, people that were like not embracing social media, the old school?
Yes, to a certain extent, but actually no more than there still is at the moment. No, it was that people were, I've always worked with small business owners. That's always been my core market, really. And people were just kind of keen to see what was going on. But still now, 2021, I will get people saying to me, I'm thinking of setting up a Facebook page. I don't know how to do it. So the conversations are still quite similar to conversations I had back then. And a lot of it just boils down to people not having the confidence, as well as the skills, not having the skills and knowledge to do it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I remember I did a couple of magazine ads, and it was one of those where I'm sure that you've seen them before, where they approach you and they say, oh, we've got one space. Yeah, we've got one space left for our feature, what they call it, and you go, oh yeah, and we're going to do it at a really cheap rate, like £320 odd. You're like, okay, yeah, sure. And then you get the magazine and you're like, I'm still scrolling, oh, there I am, right on the back page. And you're like, oh, I never got anything from those. I did three of them actually, and I never got a thing. Well,
I started, my first job was selling ad space for the local paper.
Oh.
Then I mean, I've no idea why, because sales is not something I enjoy or passionate about. But yeah, that was kind of my first proper job. And then I went to London and worked in advertising sales for a couple of magazines. So, and then it developed on to working more in education, and the kind of marketing in education. So I've always done that kind of, ad promo side of things, actually. So I think all that training, right back from the first training course I went on, from where they teach you the structure of an ad against the ADA framework, it's all stuff that actually is still all in there and is all really useful for everything that I do now. So yeah, marketing, that kind of public marketing has always been what I've done.
Yeah. So today I thought we would have a little chat about toxic social media cycles. That is a mouthful to say.
It is, but yeah.
In our Facebook group where I go live, there's always a lot of people who are stuck in doing socials, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. They tend to be like the main two that we all do, but they're very, very stuck because they start doing it, they start posting, they might post to crickets first of all, it might be nothing, but then they start down the realms of comparing themselves to other people, to other accounts that have got bigger people in there, whatever. So what does having a toxic social media cycle mean to you? So when I sort of say that, what do you immediately think of?
It's exactly what you've said, really, and so many people are in it because it's the never-ending toxic cycle of panic posting and procrastination. That's really how I would sum it up, because you think, oh right, social media, okay, Instagram, need to take loads of photos, let's post. Well, that didn't really achieve anything. Oh, I can't be bothered now, I don't know, social media doesn't work for me. Oh, hang on, let me just, and it is this, and it leads to this horrible feeling of self-doubt and self-criticism and and burnout and negativity. But actually that's not necessarily, that isn't how it has to be.
We have been having some great conversations so far on today's episode, but I've got something even more special for you. You know what it takes to be shown on page 1 on Etsy, right? Yep, you guessed it, increasing your conversion rate. My 3-step framework to skyrocket your Etsy conversion rate is my signature free masterclass. And boss, I'm saving a spot for you. Learn how to increase your conversion rate in 3 easy steps, as well as the top 3 mistakes I see Etsy shops make on a daily basis. Sign up in the show notes or head to handmadebosses.com/conversion. That's handmadebosses.com/conversion, CONVERSION, to claim your spot. Now let's get back to the episode, and I can't wait to see you there, boss.
At all. But this cycle, so many people are in it, and I've tried this and I've tried that and I've tried the other, and I've downloaded this free thing and I've downloaded that free thing, and she says do this and she says do that, so I'm trying all these things and I just hate it.
I think that what I see from my point of view is I see people who are doing well on Etsy or their own website or whatever, and then they're like, oh, okay, like I think I should do Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or whatever. And they start off really, really well, because obviously, as you know, when we all start off on a project, we're super excited and we're like, let's get
always
into
very
it.
keen.
And then you get to a point where you've done, like, I don't know, maybe like a month to 6 weeks worth of posts, and then you're like, well, that hasn't achieved anything. Do you think that's like the biggest entry point into the cycle?
I do. Yeah, I do. It's frustration. And that's, I mean, it's the antithesis of what I teach people, because there are so many people out there now who sell these, or, you know, you can download them for free, or they sell them as programs, these kind of quick win things. You know, I got 10,000 followers on TikTok in 10 days. All right. But you did, but the millions and millions of other people didn't, because that's not how it works. There's always one lucky person. But actually what I teach and what I firmly believe in is determination. It takes longevity, and it takes a strategy, and you have to just keep doing it. You know, none of our businesses are going to make us millionaires overnight, because the world just doesn't work like that. So expecting social media to suddenly be this incredible launch pad overnight, it's not realistic. And that lack of, well, the over expectation, I suppose, is what then feeds into the self-doubt, into the criticism, because you see she's done this, you know, 10,000 in 10 days. Why have I not done this? And it's not real life. It just isn't real life.
Yeah, no, you are right. And I think that a lot of people, you know, again, I've spoken to a lot of people who, you know, when I look at their shops and things like that, and I go onto their like Facebook links, Twitter links, it's just broken links where people have tried it for like a month or two and then gone, no, this is not for me. And one thing that I teach is like the main thing is start with one channel.
Absolutely.
Just start with that. Master that. Get into it. So like for Handmade Bosses, that was YouTube, and I really got into it. I was like, right, I need to master this first. Did that, and then you start branching out. But I think what a lot of people do is that they go, I need the big 4 or the big 5 now, including TikTok. I need to do that. Do you think that small business owners need to be on them all, or do you think it's just a case of one will do, as long as it's the right one?
Absolutely. No, you're right. Yeah, agree completely. I've always taught that, you know, even back in 2009, I was like, do one and do one well. And then you could kind of only really do, well, I suppose YouTube, but, you know, there was Facebook, there was Twitter, there was LinkedIn, you know, you do one and you do it well, even back then. And now there is so much noise, because we're all on social media, we're all on all the channels. And, you know, you talk to your friends on Facebook, and then you look at the inspirational stuff on Instagram. We use them for different purposes, but yeah, you need to do research into which is going to be the best platform for your audience. And by profiling your audience, you'll be able to kind of work that out. It's one thing that I work through with my students. And then that's your focus. And if you're not on Facebook, it doesn't matter. If you're not on TikTok, it doesn't matter. If Instagram is the only thing that you're doing, that's okay. I mean, obviously it needs to feed into a wider customer journey. So you need to do email marketing and all that kind of back end stuff that comes with it. But just in terms of the social media, the public facing stuff, do one, do it well, put all your energy and efforts into it, build a following, get comfortable with the way you create content, and then you can repurpose a lot of that content onto your secondary and your tertiary and whatever the fourth one would be.
Four, three.
I don't know what the
it is now.
Anyway, absolutely, because being on more than one platform doesn't necessarily mean double or triple the work, because it's the content can be repurposed strategically, but there's the engagement, and that's what takes the time.
Yeah. So I know that a lot of people watching this are going to be like, yeah, but I'm just posting and no one's liking it, or I'm getting 1 or 2 likes and like no comments, no shares. What would you say to people who are like in the first, I don't know, 2 to 3 months of their social journey? What would be like the one piece of advice that you would say?
Enjoy it. That would be absolutely what I'd say. Don't worry about the numbers, because we all start at 0 and we all post things that nobody looks at apart from, you know, our other halves and our mates,
our nans.
Yeah, the cat, your mum, you know, whoever. That's how everybody starts. But if you use that time, and that time is so precious because you're never going to get it again, if you use that time to hone your craft and work out what imagery works for your business, what people do engage with, even if it's only 1 or 2. When you start with 0, that's a really good measure. When you get up to 10, that's a brilliant measure. So these big numbers don't mean anything. You know, don't think about that. 1s and 2s count, because 1s and 2s can become 1s and 2s customers, and that's really good. So use the precious time to hone your craft, to get good at sharing the content, to work out what content does work, to get comfortable and confident in your style, and to kind of practice your videos and practice your broadcasts. And then if it's not right, you've got time to kind of tweak it and change it. So it's a mindset shift to me. Don't think, oh, I haven't got an audience, I haven't got anywhere. You're like, wow, I have this amazing opportunity to get really good at this stuff before I hit the big time.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, don't think of the 1s and 2s as just being 1s or 2s. Think of them as, oh, that's like 1 or 2 people that took time out of their day to read my post, to respond to it. And as you guys know, I'm always harping on about target market. You need to know your target market. Your target market is like the sun, and everything else revolves around it, right? But it's especially true with stuff like this, and I think that kind of leads on to really enjoying, like what you said, really enjoying the content that you're posting out. Because if you're posting content, like if you've committed to, like, I don't know, doing a live every week. So I know that you guys watching you, when I've mentioned you guys doing lives, you're like, no, I don't want to do lives. So, if you genuinely do not enjoy doing that, and I'm sure you will agree, like, only post content that resonates with you, because the chances are is that your business is a reflection of you. So why are you posting things that you don't like and that you wouldn't comment on, when chances are your target market is you, and they probably won't either?
Yeah, this is really true. And this is, everything I teach is anti-gimmick. It's kind of, it's the traditional foundations, if you like, in the modern world. That's what I teach people, because there are so many gimmicks out there. And Instagram is, it's one of the biggest things there, with the fact that it's a TikTok competitor, and they now openly admit that they're trying to be a TikTok competitor. So Reels, for example, on Instagram, there's lots of lip syncing, there's lots of dancing, there's lots of pointing. A lot of people are hugely uncomfortable with doing all those things, and you don't have to do them. Reels are good to do because they get a lot of exposure, but you can just talk to camera like this and record it in the reel bit within Instagram. It's still a reel. It still gets the same exposure. It still gets, it still works in the same way. But if you're more comfortable just saying, hello, here's my thing I want to tell you about today in 15 seconds or so, brilliant. So it's about using the tools that exist and that are going to make a difference to your exposure in a way that you're comfortable with and sits well with you. But the more you practice all this stuff, the more comfortable and confident you get. But it really does boil down to enjoyment, because if you're passionate about your business, well, if you're not, I mean, you shouldn't be doing it, full stop. But if you're passionate about your business and enthusiastic about what you're sharing with people, then that all needs to come across in your content. And if it's full of ums and ahs, and I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter, because you're still giving the valuable content across, and your enthusiasm is what people are going to buy from, going to make people buy.
Yeah. And I think especially for me, like when I first begun doing like lives and videos and all that kind of stuff, there was a lot of ums, there was a lot of ahs, there was a lot of like pauses. But you know, I think the biggest thing is that I always used to treat it as if I was out with a friend having coffee. Like, you don't edit yourself within an inch of your life when you're sat there in like Starbucks, like drinking a coffee. You're not like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, wipe that out, let's start again. You don't do that. And I think, you know, you do see a lot of reels and stuff where they're like heavily, you know, I'm sure you can tell when they've done it for like the 11th time in a row because they didn't or they did something quite, you know, not quite right. Yeah. And it just comes across like you don't trust you don't trust yourself in like what you say. And I think all in all, a lot of people that, especially that I talk to, they're always worried about two things on socials. Is that one, that they're going to get people commenting that hate them for whatever, the trolls, which yes, we all get, guys. Even I do. Every day I get a YouTube comment or three that's like, you wave your hands around too much. It's like, fine, go and find someone else that doesn't wave their hands around. I like to wave my hands around, like whatever.
You know, I'm actually sitting on mine at the minute, so I'm not doing it too much.
I tried that, but they wheedle their way out eventually.
Yeah, here they come.
Here they are. And you also get the people who are like, oh, if I post on socials that I'm going to get copied. I do get that one quite a bit. Obviously, being handmade people, you know, they're making it, we are a lot more closer to our craft. We're not just buying and then like selling it on. That's not what, you know, we are very, very close. But I do get that a lot, and it surprised me actually. So a lot of people will avoid posting pictures of their process, their craft behind the scenes online because they're worried about people copying them. And for me, and I don't know if your response will be the same, but it's like, if they want to copy you, they will find you some other way, whether it's on your Etsy shop, whether it's on your website, they will do it. You know, whether you post on Instagram or not, they will eventually find you if they really wanted to.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's not just your audience that goes through that. You know, I mean, every single piece of information that I've shared publicly for the last 12 years can be recycled by someone else, but that's not everything that's in my head. That's not the very fabric of my business, like it isn't for your creative audience. And on 2 occasions in my career, I can think of specific examples. There was someone I used to know through networking, and she set up a website that was almost identical to my website and started offering very similar services to me, but she wasn't me. You know, she didn't have all my knowledge, all my experience. She didn't pay to go to the conferences in San Diego every year because that's where you learn and that's where you keep up to date. She didn't do any of that. So she wasn't me, and she's not doing this anymore. And then somebody else who came on a LinkedIn workshop I ran a few years ago, said, yeah, I don't know anything about LinkedIn. And then started running LinkedIn workshops. It's like, but the way to look at it is they're doing that because I gave them the skills, or I gave them the knowledge. And that's okay, because we all buy into programs so that we can learn, and then we either implement it ourselves or we teach it to other people. That's how everything works. And if it's blatant plagiarism, you know, you've got copyright issues and all of that. But actually, the way to look at it is just, you know, this stuff happens. And like you say, they'll find it somewhere else if they really want to do it. And if all they can do is copy what you're doing, they are never going to make a successful business, because to make a successful business, you need to have a bit of ingenuity, a bit of oomph about you, a bit of a spark, a bit of enthusiasm for growing a business. And they won't have that if they're just copying.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people worry that they haven't got the spark, and that's why they can't do socials. But everyone has a spark, whether you know it or not, because the way we talk, the way we act, who we are is like a filter through our thoughts, through our, everything that we do, everything that we have done, everything that we've heard, everything that we watch, everything that we consume makes us who we are. So if someone copies you, they're only going to copy the surface stuff that you put out there, and like
which
I say,
is out there anyway,
exactly. And like I say to people all the time is that they're like 5 steps behind you because they're just copying the stuff that you put out 5-6 months ago. You're already thinking about next year's stuff. You're already over here doing whatever. And also, like you said, and like the LinkedIn workshop is a perfect example. They won't be in business very long. They'll probably do it for like 6 months and be like, yeah, I'm a LinkedIn expert. And then they'll just be like, oh, well, I can't copy Libby anymore because, So
it's, and actually saying about the toxic social media cycle, one thing that it's kind of really important to remind people of that is that you don't need to be a real extrovert with any of this. I'm an introvert. This is great talking to you and your audience and sharing all this information, but this is really draining for me. So what I'll do for the rest of the day, I won't have any contact with anybody. I won't create any content for social media. I'll just watch, I'll watch some content that I want to learn from, maybe craft some emails, that kind of stuff. But I won't do any big communicating, because that doesn't work with my energy levels. And that's okay, and it's okay to talk about that on your stories. It's okay to say, do you know what, this stuff is tiring, so I do an hour of this a day, and then the rest of the stuff is the quiet stuff in the business. That's the creating. Your guys are making things, they're using their minds that way, and that's okay. The public shiny facing stuff happens in pockets of time.
You're not like that all the time.
You're absolutely not like that all the time. You're yourself, this is me here now, but the other side of me, I have a nap or whatever, and that's okay. And it's okay to talk about that actually as well if it fits. So don't get into the toxic cycle of thinking that you need to be on all the time, because you absolutely don't, and you will burn yourself out if you're trying to be on social media and on creative with making and making all your stuff. So it's about understanding that and managing that within yourself, so you don't get into this cycle.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of social media experts will say, oh yeah, you need to connection. And like what you've just said, what if I'm not all about connecting with people all the time because it really drains me, or I don't particularly like to, and it goes back to post what you enjoy. You don't have to be doing a reel every day talking about how wonderful your life is and how you've just made this fantastic new scarf and you want to show it off, and oh my goodness, you don't have to be like that. Your audience will see through that. Give it time. You can't keep that up forever, right?
That's exhausting. I mean, some people can, some people thrive off it, but it's exhausting. And to me, if you're doing that all the time, then actually your life becomes about just validation by strangers, which is very toxic, and that's not healthy. That isn't healthy at all.
So in regards to the cycle of comparing ourselves to this maker, to that maker, to what advice would you give for people listening / watching / wherever you're consuming this, what advice would you give people who are like, I can't do Instagram because one of my other competitors' shops, they're doing it so much better than me and I cannot compete with them? What advice would you give to them?
Okay, well, I would just say, I'm a social media coach and have been since 2009. I have quite small followings on social media because my time has been invested in training and coaching other people rather than growing my own following. But you look on social media, you will find probably 1 billion social media coaches in whatever guise they come in. They come in all sorts of different packages, specializing in all sorts of different things. Some great, some really, truly terrible. But the fact that I've been doing this for a hell of a lot longer than most people, but actually my followings are relatively small because it's about conversion. I could think, well, I've not got 100,000 followers. I'm not going to do this anymore. but it doesn't matter. It's just about knowing that the people that you work with, you provide real value to those people, and you really make a difference. You know, if you're making, you mentioned about some, you know, someone making a scarf, if that scarf makes someone smile and keeps their neck warm and is a lovely present that someone opens on their birthday, that's really superb. And that's what matters. Not that somebody else has also made a scarf. You know, if you want, I could go to Marks and Spencer's and get a scarf. I could go to John Lewis and get a scarf. I could go to probably Aldi and get a scarf from the middle aisle. But it's all about choices that we make, and we choose the thing that fits and suits us. And there is a customer base, a huge customer base for all of us. So it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Everyone's journey is different.
Yeah. And, you know, when you look at the amount of people who are on Instagram who potentially, you know, if you run Facebook ads and you look on the back end of it and you see like the size of people who like this page and do this and that, and it's like 2-3 million people.
Oh, it's ludicrous. Yeah.
And when you see that, you're like, why was I ever worried about running out of potential customers? Like, where did that fear come from? And I think it's
never going to run out of potential customers. Yeah.
It's just fears. At the end of the day, it's just fears. And as business owners, and I'm sure you've been through it, running a business from start to growth to scale is a journey of self-discovery at the very least.
Isn't it just?
So you end up digging up all of these fears that come out of the woodwork, and you're thinking, where did that come from? Like the fear of success, that is actually a lot more of a bigger problem, especially for, you know, when I'm doing lives and stuff like that. That's a lot more of a bigger problem than I think anyone thinks it is. You know, you think of having success and you think, oh, I definitely want that. But then when you start to get there, all these things come out and you're like, oh, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, a little bit of imposter syndrome creeping in there. Definitely.
Oh my goodness, we have all been there.
What if they find out I don't know what I'm talking about? What if that happens? You know, I mean, I think everybody goes through that. That's completely natural. But one thing that someone said to me, oh crikey, I mean, I don't know how many years ago, I guess maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I was relatively new to having my own business. And someone really prominent, a speaker at an event, said to me, we were talking afterwards, said to me, nobody knows what they're doing. And actually, it stuck with me. And I just thought, nobody does. And the amount of business owner friends that I've got, be they, you know, Instagram friends or actual real friends in real life, is that we all have these same fears and worries. And just accepting that and thinking, well, that's just the way it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference to how you grow your business at all. And doesn't make any difference to your customers if you're still making them happy.
No, you are right. And you don't have to be an expert, i.e. know exactly 100% of the time what you're doing in every single aspect of your business, because no one, newsflash, not even Richard Branson, I don't know who else, but you know what I mean? Elon Musk, like they don't know every inch of everything in their business. They don't, and neither should you, because frankly, that would just be freaking exhausting if you did, or you know, wanted to.
Well, it wouldn't be very interesting either, because where have you got to go from that? You know, you've already achieved everything. So, okay then.
Yeah, I'm just going to move on now. I got bored of that. I'm off. Interesting question. What's the worst mistake that you've ever seen being made, or maybe even one that you've made in regards to social media? Like what has been the biggest mistake that you've seen that you've gone, oh my God, why are they doing like what?
I mean, there are many, obviously, from over the years, but there was a phase probably about 4 or 5 years ago when Instagram was really starting to kind of boom, I suppose, or you know, start to be noticed as a business platform, maybe 4 years ago. And there seemed to be an awful lot of sex sells going on. And I mean, there still is, but I noticed a real kind of surge in it. And so perfectly ordinary people who did perfectly ordinary and sensible businesses felt the need to be photographed, you know, let's just, I can't see on this camera, so that's good. I'm actually going to, but let's just pull the top apart a little bit and show a bit of cleavage. And it's like, why do you feel the need? Just because, you know, the Kardashians are exploding everywhere, and there's Nuts magazine, and there's all of these where women particularly need to be scantily dressed to get attention. You don't need to do that in your business. So I would say absolutely, your scarf makers do not need to be naked bar a scarf. It's not going to make any, if you want to do a comedy calendar, fine. But yeah, feeling like you need to be an object yourself is not the way to get success. Your brain is what matters, and your creations are what matters. So yeah, that was an interesting trend that seems to have thankfully fallen by the wayside a little bit.
I think with Instagram, I think that did come with the whole, when they went through that like 6-month phase of where every little bit of skin, whether it was an arm or a forehead or something, it had to be cropped out, because they were like, right, we're taking a real approach to showing skin. Then they went too far the other way, and now they've kind of found their nice little middle ground.
yeah.
Okay, so what is one crazy but true fact about you? I know you struggled with this one. What did you come up with?
I've been thinking about this one for like 3 weeks or something. Thinking, I don't know, I'm not really a very crazy person. What have I done? What's happened to me? But actually, it's a business relevant story as well. But 3 years ago, I ran the Paris Marathon.
Oh.
And I did, and before the bin men came sweeping everything up at the end, so I did it. I got my medal, but I'm not a runner. And so that was in the April 3 years ago, and in the October-November of the year before, so what's that, like 6 months before the race, someone said to me, I'm going to run a marathon. I was like, oh yeah, I can do a marathon. If you're doing a marathon, I can do a marathon. So I bought some trainers and went down to Park Run and walked the 5K because I couldn't run. And then, so I think that was beginning of November. And then April, ran a marathon, which is just, wow. I look back and now and just think, bloody hell, that was quite something. But I think the kind of lesson from it all, I've never done another one. I've no desire to do another one. I've done half marathons, but I haven't even put my trainers on since last September. So, this isn't not a career for me. But the kind of lesson from that is that actually we can all do really hard things. And in business, like I said right at the start, was that people expect overnight success. And if they don't, they beat themselves up from it. But you imagine if you tried to run a marathon with absolutely no training, I mean, you might actually die. You'd certainly not be able to walk for some time because your feet would be in bits. But it's why do we expect that from our business when we wouldn't do something like that? You have to train. And I was slow, but I got the same medal as the people who did it in 2 hours and the same t-shirt and did the same course. Everything was the same as them, but I got there and I got my moment of glory and I got my success. And the reason I did that was because I'd worked really hard to get there. And that's exactly how running a business is, building a social media following. All of this is exactly the same thing. So I mean, looking back, it was a bit crazy. I mean, it was a stupid thing to do, but especially when I'd been training in the snow and you go to Paris and it's 23 degrees and people were dropping with heat stroke all over the place.
That's like my worst nightmare. I'm not a heat person. That sounds like my worst nightmare.
No, it was a huge amount of fun on the day, but like I say, I'm never going to do another one. But it's a good kind of lesson for everyone, really, and a different way of framing things, I think, to try and break this toxic cycle. It's show up, do the work, you'll have success, but you might have to wait a bit for it.
Yeah, and that's definitely the same, I think, with people working through like certainly my course. They get annoyed because they're sort of 2-3 months in and they're having to go back and redo a lot of the work that they did not necessarily the right way the first time around, and they get really annoyed and they're like, and it's like, just because you have to work a little bit longer and maybe even a little bit harder doesn't mean that the results are going to be any different from someone that got it in like 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever. It doesn't mean it's going to be any different. It just means that it's going to be even more sweeter for you because you've worked hard, because you've had to overcome all these different things that like what we've talked about. Running a business is like a journey of self-discovery. So yeah, no, it's exactly that. Because you did it, you worked really, really hard, really, really quickly. It was like even more of an achievement for you, because you're like, you saw people who were running for years, training for years, but they got the same, like you said, the same stuff at the end of it. So completely. So Libby, where can people find you? Where can they come and hang out with you on your socials?
The place I'm the most active is Instagram.
Yeah.
And I am at Libby Langley on Instagram. I'm Libby Langley on everything, so I'm quite easy. I'm quite easy to find. And I've got, if I'm allowed to mention it, I've got
by all means,
free 4-part training that people might want that helps you understand everything that we've talked about today. Really, the foundations for your social media and your strategy, and why you need to walk before you can run. And the web address for that is libbylangleytraining.com/free, if anybody is interested in taking that up. But
perfect.
Yeah, I'd love to connect with some of your guys on Instagram though.
Yeah.
See what their creations are. I mean, it'd be expensive, I think, because I'm always buying things.
Try being a handmade business coach. You end up spending.
I'd be bankrupt by the weekend.
Is your masterclass, is that linked on your Instagram? Is that like your hub? Because then I'll link that down in the show notes. If you guys want to go and just have a nice little clickable link, that'll be in there. Then that'll be like
Instagram's my hub. Yeah,
it's your hub. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Lovely stuff. Libby, thank you so much for joining us. It's been like a really interesting discussion. It's been fabulous. If you want to find Libby in the show notes, I will link the Instagram, which is like the home hub, and you'll find your masterclass, and I assume your website, your blog, and all that other stuff as well.
Yeah, well, my blog is libbylangley.com. That's my main website. But Instagram's where I have the links to the juicy stuff and where I share all the good content that's going to help people.
You need to go and find that. You need to go and find that now. Libby, thank you so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. See you, everyone. Bye.
We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to check the show notes for some more helpful links, and also a link to our website as well. Also, you can watch the video version of this over on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to get your free spot on our masterclass, a 3-step framework to skyrocket your Etsy conversion rate at handmadebosses.com/conversion. That's handmadebosses.com/conversion. We would also love it if you could leave us a review on iTunes, as it really helps us to reach more bosses in need. Subscribe to the show, and we will see you on the next episode.